At this point of the show, the host would do something fun and spontaneous to show how we're all just ordinary people, like ordering pizza for everyone.
But since we already get food at the Globes, we thought we'd mix it up and try something new. So roll up your sleeves, Hollywood, because you're all getting flu shots! You know you wore a sleeveless gown for a reason.
Hey, shot! Excuse me, ma'am, you're definitely gonna want to get Defoe. Great.
These nurses are all licensed professionals straight from the Rite Aid in Echo Park.
And look, if you're an anti-vaxxer, just put a napkin over your head and we'll skip you.
You're welcome, you guys.
This costs 50 grand, you guys. You're welcome.
You gonna get the flu shot, Lucy? That, whatever those CIA celebritards say, I do the exact opposite. Yeah, get your flu shot, everybody. Did you hear what he said? If you want to get the flu. It's pretty amazing how all these, the Olympics 2012, Golden Globes last year, all seem to be kind of putting this forward, this whole plandemic sort of a thing. Now you have all the celebritards all in their houses, all doing their Instagrams, even doing their shows from their houses, which none of them were funny before, but without like the audience and all that kind of stuff, it's like...
Hi everybody, welcome to another Tonight Show at Home edition. I appreciate you watching and staying at home and doing what we're told. I know it's hard right now, but it's going to work out. So thank you for doing that. We're doing our part too, staying at home and washing our hands and not touching our face, etc. And it's just, today's it's a Tuesday, I believe, and it's just another day. It's another week. So let's just, every day is another week. So here we go. Let's make it easier. Let's start off with a few jokes. It's time for the monologue. Welcome to Tonight Show at Home edition. Guys, there are reports that Kim Jong-un is in serious condition after having surgery. Wow, that's crazy. He always looks so healthy to me. That's right. There are reports that Kim Jong-un is in serious condition after having surgery. Who knew that the guy with the body shaped like the one from Operation would have health issues? He's got water on the knee, a bucket of water on the knee. If anything happens to Kim Jong-un, his sister will take over. You know Kim's sisters, Courtney and Chloe Jong-un.
It's kind of like, makes you cringe. It's just so bad. But what are they all saying? They're all saying the exact same things. Hey guys, we just gotta hang in there. It's gonna lock down for a few months, maybe a few years. And we're all in this together. Even Madonna obviously used that name for certain reasons, trying to mimic the real Madonna of the Bible and all that kind of stuff, of course. Sits in her bath in her $100 million house with her beautiful bath area with all her servants had laid out flowers in her bath. And she says, this COVID has equaled us all.
That's the thing about COVID-19. It doesn't care about how rich you are, how famous you are, how funny you are, how smart you are, where you live, how old you are, what amazing stories you can tell. It's the great equalizer. And what's terrible about it is what's great about it. What's terrible about it is it's made us all equal in many ways. And what's wonderful about it is that it's made us all equal in many ways.
Oh yeah. Have you seen what's going on almost everywhere in the world, Madonna? People are barely surviving. They're fighting over anything to eat. Talk about privilege.
Security forces in Venezuela have arrested at least 400 people after the latest bout of looting and food riots sweeping the country. A youth was shot dead in the state of Mérida, bringing the total of deaths to 4 in the past 2 weeks during clashes between those searching for food and security forces.
Let's talk about privilege. They've been talking about this for a long time. How white people have privilege. Well, what is the ultimate privilege? Is people who have made tens or hundreds of millions or billions of dollars basically lying to the world, keeping them entrapped, keeping them entertained, which means to enter the mind, so they don't pay attention to what's going on, all getting paid by the same people, basically the CIA, to keep you completely in the dark. And that's your fault too, by the way, if you have been doing that. But it is their fault as well for doing that as well. Talk about the ultimate privilege. All these celebritards, none of whom have died, by the way. I actually said 2 months ago, they're gonna have to have some major celebrity die or people won't believe basically the sham of all this. And watch my video yesterday if you don't know what a sham this is. This is far less than the 2017-2018 influenza season. Far, far, far less. I have the chart from yesterday. And because the system wants a lockdown, and this was all planned for in 2010 in a Rockefeller Institute document talking about how they're going to use a virus to put top-down authoritarian control across the world and disrupt supply chains. So talk about your ultimate privilege to be rich, sitting there in your house, telling people, we can do it, guys, we just all gotta stick together, while most of the world is starting to literally die because of not COVID, which stands for Certificate of Vaccination ID, and the 19, the letter A is the number 1 in the alphabet. The number 9 is the letter I. Artificial intelligence. Certificate of Vaccination ID, artificial intelligence, all brought about by people like Bill Gates and his ilk. They've been planning it for years. And now they all sit there and laugh. Wow, it's just begun. But there could be not just millions, not just tens of millions. It might not just be hundreds of millions. We could be talking about billions of people dying here very soon, because basically all supply chains and food production across the world, for the most part, have been shut down. I've heard of so many, like basically you could just name them off. We could probably just look up a ton of them. Food processing plants in Canada, US, Australia, all shutting down. Farmers saying they're throwing out their crops. The government telling people to kill their cattle because they won't be able to sell them. And I've been saying since the lockdown started, that if it does not end very soon, this is going to end up in not only food shortages, not only incredibly high food costs due to the hyperinflation, but outright famines. And we've already seen that begun. Even the United Nations, one of the most evil, who is that guy? I've just paid attention to him the last couple of days. He's like the Secretary General of the UN. He's got like a Spanish name, but he sounds Russian. Like if this guy doesn't look like straight out of 1984, I don't know what does. But even they have come out and said that coronavirus pandemic will cause global famines of biblical proportions. Notice there's a lie in that title. It is not the coronavirus pandemic that is causing global famines of biblical proportions. It is the government lockdowns worldwide that are causing this. Because the numbers for COVID are still far, far less than the 2018 influenza. Almost all the hospitals are empty. I should even mention this. Remember a couple days ago I talked about how I couldn't believe that people in Las Vegas who are homeless were trying to sleep in a parking lot and the government drew lines around them to social distance? Well, that turns out to be more fake news. So I apologize, YouTube and anyone else out there. Anyone wants to do an article on how I'm putting out fake news? I did, but that came from the mainstream media. So here's a friend of mine in Las Vegas. His name's Danny Sessoms. He's an amazing guy. He does something called The Crypto Show. I've been on it many times. He's always at an Acapulco. He's always involved in charity type things. He's always out feeding the homeless. He's one of the best people I've ever met. So he decided he was going to go down to where this place was with the people sleeping in the parking lot to help feed them and stuff like that. Here's what he found.
So, what's the real deal on the social distancing here? So, the reason why I came here was I seen the thing with the parking lot where they were allowing people to sleep in the parking lot, and they'd painted these squares that are supposed to be designed for social distancing to keep people 6 feet apart and protect them from whatever it is. Well, that's not really what's going on here. So apparently that little project only lasted for about a week. I'm talking to some of the guys here that are inside the homeless shelter, and it was all just a media bullshit for TV news to come there and take pictures that there was social distancing going on, that they had bathrooms and showers. But the reality of it was that the showers just were for just show during the newscast. After the news cameras turned off, then no one was allowed to use the showers. So, and now in that very same spot where that happened, they've erected this makeshift COVID-19 hospital that everybody here also says that it's empty. So it's supposed to be for quarantining. All this shit is just for show. So believe what you want, support whoever you want. You call me crazy for being here, I really don't give a fuck. But that's what's happening.
This is all set up to panic people, to enable the lockdowns, which are now going to be killing millions and millions and millions of people. Even when they put out their first numbers, the lies from what was his name? Something Neil Ferguson, I think, at the Empire College of London or something like that. Or Dr. Fauci, saying 10 million people might die, 20 million might die. They've all rolled it back. Even Dr. Fauci has said in the New England Journal of Medicine that the death rate looks like it's 0.1%. The same as pretty much every other flu for the last who knows how many years, forever basically. And these guys have just been lying about all this stuff. But even under those numbers where they said, the original ones, they brought them down to like 20,000 now, or 60,000 or 40,000, which is actually less than what normal people die of the flu every year. Those numbers are nothing compared to the amount of deaths that are going to be caused by this lockdown. The New York Times even talks about it. They say, instead of coronavirus, the hunger will kill us. A global food crisis looms. The world has never faced a hunger emergency like this, experts say. It could double the number of people facing acute hunger to 265 million by the end of this year. In the largest slum in Kenya's capital, people desperate to eat set off a stampede during a recent giveaway of flour and cooking oil, leaving scores injured and 2 people dead. In India, thousands of workers are lining up twice a day for bread and fried vegetables to keep hunger at bay. And across Colombia, poor households are hanging red clothing and flags from their windows and balconies as a sign that they are hungry. We don't have any money and now we need to survive, said Pauline Karushi, who lost her job at a jewelry business in Nairobi and lives in 2 rooms with her child and 4 other relatives. That means not eating much. The coronavirus pandemic has brought hunger to millions of people around the world. National lockdowns and social distancing measures are drying up work and incomes and are likely to disrupt agricultural production and supply routes, leaving millions to worry how they will get enough to eat. James Corbett of the Corbett Report, which I highly recommend. I always have been recommending it. He puts out great stuff. Did a great little piece. I'll play a couple minutes of it here, talking about that old French saying, let them eat cake. And he goes on to show that even that isn't true. Pretty much everything in his history is lies. But then he goes on to show how American politicians are basically doing the exact same thing.
Welcome back, friends. Welcome back to Propaganda Watch. I'm your host, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Now, we all remember from our history textbooks that Marie Antoinette, the last queen of the French, infamously remarked during the French Revolution in the throes of a peasant uprising over a lack of bread to eat, let them eat cake. Right? Well, as it turns out, like pretty much everything else you learned in your history textbooks, that too is a lie. In fact, doubly so. First of all, because she did not say let them eat cake, but literally let them eat brioche, which is a different thing entirely. But more to the point, actually there's no evidence whatsoever that she actually said that. This was originally started as some sort of thing that was vaguely attributed to some French royalty, some French princess at some point in the past century or two, and it only actually got affixed to Marie Antoinette 50 years after the fact by pro-revolutionary historians, so take it for what it's worth. And I think we can all understand how, no, we cannot be expected to believe that any would-be misleader of the people could be so divorced from reality, so ensconced in her own privilege, that she would be as tone-deaf as to say something like, let them eat cake to starving peasants, right? Right?
Speaker Pelosi, what have you found? What are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate.
Really?
Chocolate candy.
Oh, wow.
And this is something you can get through the mail.
Okay.
Never run out. Now show
me.
you?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the episode of Cribs I never knew I needed. Oh my, wow.
Other people in our family look for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here.
See, I've always felt a connection with you, and now I understand why.
Oh, right. That's exactly what just happened.
Yes, Nazi Pelosi. Forget her net worth, something like in the hundreds of millions. She's never actually had a real job her entire life. She's not paid that much at Congress. Wonder how she got all that money. Sort of like Barack Drone Bomber and the Clintons. All super rich now. Oh, it's, they get paid a lot for speeches. Yeah, but the same people who paid them off and continue to pay them off for doing things for them, called crony capitalists. And you might be thinking, well, maybe it's bad in some countries in Africa or maybe some Latin American countries. It's actually not too bad in Mexico because they didn't really do much lockdown here. But it probably will get kind of bad here as well. But I think it's going to be one of the better places to be. But you might be thinking, and this is a real sick thought if this is what you think. People actually think like this. Well, that might be happening in other places, but it's not happening close to where I live, so I don't care. Well, if you live in the USSA, it is getting insane how many people lining up at food banks. Just look at some of these pictures. There's tens of thousands of people lined up. And this has just begun. And of course, being the government who's basically doing all this stuff, basically has destroyed all these people's lives. Basically, all of this has already destroyed billions of people's lives in the world for nothing. Oh, but you're a little scared because you heard on TV, it's an epidemic. Those people out there who have not woken up to what's going on, have not looked into themselves, and have not tried to stop this, they're going to have blood on their hands. Because by their ignorance and by their inaction, there is going to be countless suffering and dead due to their ignorance and inaction. And look at some of these people lining up for food in the USSA. It's starting to look like Venezuela. I don't know if you remember me over the last few years saying the US is soon going to be like Venezuela. You could see it all coming. Well, it's already here, and it's going to get much, much worse unless everyone out there realizes what's going on, doesn't listen to their government, and gets out there and gets back to work no matter what. Even already, there's going to be so much carnage. And every day it goes on, there's going to be more and more. And look at some of these pictures, typical of government-run stuff. Look at this one in a parking lot of, what are they trying to do? Social distance the cars? I don't even know what they're trying to do there, but there must be a better way to line up those cars. But of course, when it's the government involved, it'll just be the worst run thing ever. And soon those people won't even have much because there won't be much. Food supply stuff across the world is being stopped. It's stopped right now. It won't be much longer before nearly everyone in the world's fighting over food to survive. And all because of a bunch of lies. So while Nazi, sorry I pronounced her name wrong, Nazi Pelosi, and by the way, Joe Biden even liking her tweet and saying, hey, good choice of ice cream, $13 a pint in your $20,000 fridge, in your probably $10 million house. While they're talking about that, countless millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, it might be billions now, are on the brink of starvation. Yet many people who might they might own their own home, they might have enough money for a couple months or even a couple years. That's very rare, by the way. In the US, 80% of the people were living paycheck to paycheck. So we're now well past 1 or 2 paychecks, and the little tiny handouts they're getting won't pay for anything. But of course, Nazi Pelosi's hard at work, counterfeiting up more money and putting you more into debt to give to all her friends. They just passed a $484 billion phase 3.5 package by voice vote on Tuesday. A 3.5. Like, why didn't you just do number 4? You had 1, 2, 3. Why not do 4? Let's screw around and say they're trying to steal as much money as they can right now while everyone's still in panic over nothing. They should be in panic over the coming famines, but might have noticed most of the people in the US just lined up for toilet paper. Guess that they're not going to be ready for this. And they passed 3.5 of this act to give to mostly all their buddies. And Nancy said, or someone said, now Congress will move swiftly to bring this legislation to the floor and pass it this week so that we can bring desperately needed resources to those who are suffering. As soon as it is passed in the House, we will advance CARES 2, which must be transformative and far-reaching. So they've already passed about $10 trillion of stuff. Your average person saw maybe 3% of that. The rest goes to cronies, paying off people, stuff like that. Now they passed another $500 billion, and before they even finished, they just finished it. And they said they're rushing now to get out the next one. Everything I've said over the last 10 years, you can go back. I've got a video, it's got millions of views. It says, get out of the USSA, it'll be messy. You can go back through my videos 8, 9 years ago. And notice I never said this is going to happen next week or next month. The closest I came was in 2015 saying the Shemitah was coming up. Maybe they're going to do something pretty big. But even after that, I still wasn't like, it's coming now soon. But for the last year or so, definitely in the newsletter, and even in a lot of these videos. Just look back to my videos last summer. I said it has begun, and you won't believe how bad it's going to get. And it's all on purpose. And it's all because people out there are too scared to stand up and do something, or even to share this information. That is actually the key. It is truly a key. And I'll give you one example of one thing I did. I'm a big hockey fan. I know it's bread and circuses. I know it's probably never going to happen again, based on how things are going. But I still followed a number of hockey channels, hockey people on Twitter. I've been posting like crazy on their channels about just like, what are you talking about? Like, they'd be like, well, guys, just stay inside for at least a few more months and wash your hands. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? And you mentioned that this virus is really dangerous. Why are you spreading fake news? Look at this information. They might even mention they got it from Dr. Fauci. I'll say, he says it's 0.1% death rate. So what are you talking about? Then I'll post links to James Corbett's lies, something lies and coronavirus statistics. Or some of the articles that I've been posting over the last few weeks. And I'll go back and I'll even get into the conversation a little bit. I do that quite a bit. Maybe not too much time of my day, maybe half hour, an hour. But I'm pretty busy doing a lot of other stuff too. But I've already seen the results. I'll call him out right here. Get on his channel. Here's something funny. The guy has a great channel. I've been a big follower of his since he had 5,000 subs. He now has nearly 200,000 subs. He's one of the smartest people in terms of understanding hockey stats, the players, everything involved with it. He's got way smarter things to say than anyone on ESPN or any of the Canadian broadcast people. So I'm giving him those props, but he has completely fallen for the hoax. So his channel's The Hockey Guy. I'll put a link down below. He usually has a news of the day where he talks about when hockey will get started, and then he'll go into his little thing about how dangerous the virus is. Let's get on like 1,000 people to post on there, stuff like what I posted. Because he's already actually brought it up. He's like, there's a few people who seem to think I'm incorrect on this. He hasn't fully kind of said who it is yet or why. But let's see what he does when there's 1,000 people. And we could be doing that on all sorts of channels, every sports channel, because, just look at what they want. They want their sports back. So tell them they totally can. Give them the information. Some people are going to read it and some people are going to get it. So these are some of the things. And it's insane and crazy to think that we can possibly stop a global famine where possibly billions might die just by spending a bit of time posting articles on comment boards. It actually isn't that much harder than that. Because once one of those guys gets it, he starts talking about it. Now his 100,000 people who follow him, I'll go, oh, maybe I should look into that. Then you got another 100,000 looking into it. Maybe only 20,000 get it. But they're like, holy crap, we got to let everyone know this. That's the power. Every single person has a lot of power. But you actually have to do something. I'm actually, for the first time since I started talking about this a couple months ago, actually really starting to get mad. I knew this was going to hurt a lot of people. But actually seeing now, oh, hang on, I've got a huge truck passing by doing some work. That's good. No one stopped work here. Give them the big thumbs up. Beep, beep. Yeah, gave me the horn. I was like, yeah, keep going, keep going. That's what you got to do. Seeing all these people, I've been all over the world. I've been to over 100 countries. I've seen people that are barely surviving. Like if they get some rice that day and maybe some vegetable, it's been a good day for them. There's hundreds of millions or billions of people like that. And it's all because of the same criminals doing the same things to all these people. Even look at that UN guy yesterday. We posted his little propaganda piece. He was talking, or where did I see it? I saw it somewhere. Maybe we can find it. It might just be a quote, but he's basically saying hundreds of millions or billions might die of starvation due to government conflict. Okay, government. Yep, that's what I've been saying. Government screwing around, destroying everything everywhere. He said one other thing, I forget. And then he said global warming or climate change, which is totally not true. No one's dying because of that.
The world faces an unprecedented threat. The COVID-19 pandemic has rapidly covered the globe. It has spread suffering, disrupted billions of lives, and endangered the global economy. COVID-19 is menacing the whole of humanity, and so the whole of humanity must fight back. Individual country responses are not going to be enough. Wealthy countries with strong health systems are buckling under the pressure. But now the virus is arriving in countries already in the midst of humanitarian crises caused by conflicts, natural disasters, and climate change. These are places where people who have been forced to flee their homes because of bombs, violence, or floods are living under plastic sheets in fields or crammed into refugee camps or informal settlements. They do not have homes in which to socially distance.
So if you do not wake up and do something right now, you're going to basically have blood on your hands. There is karma in one way or another. And if you're too scared to pass on some of this info, or to even go outside and talk to people and tell them if you're allowed to, even if you're not allowed to, who cares? Get everyone. If you're not doing anything, you should be doing this all day. And you know what? If just the people watching this video did that, it would change things dramatically. Because maybe you're connected to some, maybe like fishing. So maybe the top fishing guy, he's like, oh, hey guys, stay inside. I'm not gonna be fishing for a while. You know, we gotta be real careful right now. And maybe he knows you because you've been on his channel and you post, hey, smarten up, read this, and stop saying that. Now maybe that fishing guy's got 100,000 people. Maybe another guy's got 1 million people. Maybe a guy who fixes cars. Get on everywhere and do it. And if you don't, you're not going to believe how bad this is going to get. I've seen these people. Most of these people are incredible people. They are the good ones for the most part. Most of the poorest people are the best people. I've seen little kids playing with a rock as a soccer ball in the streets of Istanbul, in the ghettos. I got lost in the ghettos. Long story there. But they were so happy. They were so real. I've seen them all over the place. Most of the poorest people are the best people. And most of the worst people, not all, are some of the richest people. And I'm talking about mostly the people who get rich from this system, and that's the celebritards, the banksters, anyone involved on Wall Street, anyone involved in central banking, anyone involved in government schools. I don't know what to say. I don't know who I need to, I was going to say who I need to kill here, but actually violence isn't the answer. All of this stuff is because so many people have been hypnotized and indoctrinated for decades or centuries now. And all we got to do is wake them up, and you can do it. Hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, send it everywhere. Do whatever you can, like I said in other videos. And here's another thing you can do. As you may have noticed, YouTube's taking down most stuff now. Obviously, FBI book is. Anything truthful. They're not allowing you to talk about lockdown protests. You're not allowed to talk about vaccines. You're not allowed to talk about Cinco G. that might get the video deleted. So we have to help people to continue to get this information. And one of those ways is definitely not on YouTube. One of the ways is to get on other great sites. One of them is BitChute. You can go to dollarvigilante.com/BitChute. But I really want to mention Library today because I think it is something incredible. I think both the person who founded BitChute and the person who founded Library were at Acapulco this year. I don't think I even ran into either of them. But I support them both, but there's something kind of special about how libraries set up, in my opinion. And the reason is it's completely decentralized, 100%. And that is incredibly important. I don't know exactly how BitChute's set up, but I'm pretty sure they have their own servers. And Tone Vase, who I think's mentally handicapped slightly, put out a little tweet saying there's no such thing as a decentralized video site, or something along those lines. I'll put up the tweet. I've talked about Tone before. He's anything but Bitcoin, he thinks is a scam. So you could go, hey, what do you think about those trees, Tone? He'd be like, scam. So he's got like something wrong in his head. But he's wrong about library from what I understand about library. And it's lbry.com or lbry.tv. And if I understand it correctly, and I actually have interviewed the person who's founded library, I'll put a link to it. I had him on Anarcast a while ago, but I don't quite remember all the things we talked about, and I don't remember exactly how technically it works. But I think it's all based on a blockchain, which is called the LBC blockchain. And then the videos are stored basically using their app in something that's kind of like IPFS, which I think stands for Interplanetary File IFPS, International File Planetary System, or something like that. Something like that. Something. I'll put up what it means right here. I'm bad at remembering those things, and I'm not very technical. But if I understand it correctly, you can actually have the app on your computer, and if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong down below, that you actually store some of the files, the video files, on your computer, and I think you even get paid for it, I think, in LBC tokens. And then the network grows dramatically. So some people might have noticed, I've noticed it, sometimes I go to a library and the video pauses quite a bit. It's not streaming really well. That's because it's coming off of thousands of computers across the world. And if there isn't enough people hosting them, it can slow it down. So one little thing you can do, and you might even make some money at it too. I'm not sure how it all works, but go check it out. Go to lbry.com, I think it is. Look into downloading their app. Look into how you host files. I think you do get paid if you serve files. We could use about another 1 million people hosting all those files to make sure it can never be taken down. And it's completely decentralized. So even if lbry.tv gets taken over by the CIA and they take it down and take their servers, you can still get access to those videos. Someone else will pop up with another way for you to get access to it. So that's one way. That's also a way you can maybe make a little bit of money during these unbelievable times. Or you can just continue reading the propaganda from the CIA. I could not believe this one from the New York Times, which is obviously a mouthpiece for the CIA. All of them are. In this time when like millions or billions might be dying soon, here's the article from the New York Times. Chinese agents helped spread messages that sowed virus panic in US, officials say. It goes on to say, American officials were alarmed by fake text messages and social media posts that said President Trump was locking down the country, which he did. Experts see a convergence with Russian tactics. Oh yeah, it couldn't just be the Chinese. Always gotta be the Russians. The alarming messages came fast and furious in mid-March, popping up on the cell phone screens and social media feeds of millions of Americans grappling with the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. Spread the word, the messages said. The Trump administration was about to lock down the entire country, which is what they did. So the New York Times is saying that China and Russia, their favorite things to blame, were the reason people panicked ahead of the lockdown of the entire US. I'm trying to think here, who's panicked more people in the world? I'd have to say CNN's got to be number one. New York Times is probably in the top 5. So the New York Times is writing an article blaming what they do on Russia and China. So turn off all that stuff. Turn off all mainstream TV. It's called it's television programming. It's called programming for a reason. It's literally programming. I don't know what to say. This is starting to get me really angry. And you rarely see me angry. I thought I was pretty angry when they shut down hockey. Thinking of all the people in such dire straits right now. And, you know, someone might post, oh, look at you, you're fine. yeah, I've done quite well in my life. I've actually been preparing for this for the last 10 years. I've got lots of food in my house, got cryptocurrency and precious metals. No matter how bad things get here, I'll probably be okay. I'll buy a farm if I have to. I could probably afford to protect it. So yeah, I am, what's the word they always use? Privileged compared to a lot of people. But it makes me sick that they're doing this to all these people who have basically nothing. And there's not much I can do about it except spread this message, spread the information, and start using cryptos. That's how we can also get rid of the whole banking cabal. I don't know, pretty soon we're gonna start seeing images of people literally dying of starvation. And all these people keep saying, sit in your houses, support the government. Well, you're gonna have what's coming to you soon, I think, in whatever form it comes. So, good luck. What do you think, Lucy?
Well, I've never seen you this angry. I better not say too much. Maybe if you don't mind, maybe a couple tacos, but I'm just not going to say too much to you right now. Oh, door's locked anyway. Okay, well, maybe go relax a little bit. And like I said, maybe a couple tacos if you don't mind.
Wait, this video just scratched the surface. The attacks from big government and central banks are just starting. To survive today's economic chaos, you need to understand topics ranging from Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to the latest misinformation from the Federal Reserve, what the central banks are up to, and how big government is encroaching on your life. Subscribe to this channel now, and don't forget to click the bell beside the subscribe button to make sure you never miss a single video. Take responsibility for your own future and make your personal world a better place. Share this video with your friends and subscribe now. We're all in this together.